Hi, and welcome to the Tristan channel. Now, Islamophobia refers to the fear, prejudice, or hatred against Islam and Muslims. It has become a concerning issue in many parts of the world, and especially in recent times in the UK, fueled by misconceptions and myths about the religion and its followers, and hate speech by members in Parliament. In this video, we'll debunk some of the common myths associated with Islamophobia. Islam, I should say. First of all, Islam, founded in 570 CE, is the second largest religion on earth and is rising. Its numbers around 1.9 billion people on earth, maybe more. I've heard it's 2 point something, and is growing due to its popularity as it's able to give answers to people's faith where others have failed. Myth: all Muslims are terrorists or support terrorism. This myth is not only false, but also harmful. The vast majority of Muslims are peaceful individuals who abhor terrorism. Extremist groups in the past, like ISIS, do not represent Islam or the beliefs of the Muslim community as a whole. It is important to distinguish between the actions of a few extremists and the beliefs of an entire religious group. Myth: Islam oppresses women. While there are conservative interpretations of Islam that may restrict women's rights, it is incorrect to paint Islam as inherently oppressive towards women. In fact, Islam grants women many rights, including the right to education, work, and own property. There are also numerous examples of prominent women in Islamic history who have held positions of power and influence. Myth: Muslims want to impose their religion on others or take over the country. Muslims, like people of any faith, have the right to practice their religion freely. The vast majority of Muslims do not seek to impose their beliefs on others, but rather coexist peacefully with people of different faiths. Islam teaches tolerance and respect for the other religious traditions. Myth: Islam is incompatible with modern values. Islam is a diverse religion with a rich history of intellectual and cultural achievements. Many Muslims successfully integrate their religious beliefs with modern values and principles. Islam promotes concepts such as justice, equality, and compassion, which are in line with many modern ethical and moral principles. Myth: Muhammad was a pedophile, and therefore Islam is immoral and condones paedophilia. The truth is that this is a lie. A European court in an Islamophobia case determined that said allegation is false and fails to look at context or the relevancy of the times. In ancient times, when someone reached their early teens, they were considered adults. This was true in all cultures, including ours. Are we to prosecute everyone in history? Our royalty married what we considered minors. Julius Caesar slept with Cleopatra, who at the time was a minor. To cut a long story short, we'd have to throw a lot of things in our culture in the bin if we're going to hold those times and cultures accountable. Today, the age of consent in many countries is 13. In the UK, it's 16, and in America, 18. Or 18 to 20, sorry. And it's 13 in Japan. So, what are you going to do? You're going to boycott Japan for having such a low age of consent? In ancient times, as soon as a boy hit puberty, he was considered a man, like in the Jewish community, bar mitzvahs and so on. And it was applied the same to a woman, or girl, sorry. Again, things were different back then, and therefore shouldn't reflect or tarnish said person's reputation, and in itself determined by a European court irrelevant and doesn't tarnish Muhammad's reputation. Also, being the age he had many wives, but at that age wouldn't have been able to consummate. He was getting on, mate. No disrespect, but he was getting on a bit. And just between you and me, also, as some scholars would say, just between you and me, his first wife, his oldest wife, who helped fund his movement, had him under her thumb. Also, the claims that Aisha was 6 years old is inaccurate. A lot of it is stories mouth to mouth, as it were, rumours of the times, and gossip. It's not actual proven accurate, historically accurate. Also, a lot of marriages during those days were to form alliances. So all that in consideration to attack Islam on an old cultural tradition is intellectually inept. People even forgot how old Joseph and Mary were when they coupled. Again, being Jewish, it would have been at a very young age. Islam has no problem with multiple wives, but doesn't condone paedophilia. That is a cultural thing, not a religious thing. Just like many religions, Islam respects and follows the law of the land and the times. The whole Muhammad being a pedophile is just a desperate attack by bigots who are hell-bent on destroying Islam. Good luck with that. A more basic point is, due to the customs of the times, it's a mute argument or point, and therefore is a pointless argument or critique. It's funny how also Christians and far-right bigots don't show any anger towards the real paedophiles in their own ranks, as it were, and including, especially with Christianity, in the Roman Catholic Church. In conclusion, Islamophobia is a complex issue that stems from misconceptions and stereotypes about Islam and Muslims. It is essential to challenge these myths and promote understanding and tolerance among different communities. By debunking these myths and educating ourselves about Islam, we can work towards building a more inclusive and harmonious society. Pardon me. Also to add, the more we victimize Islam, the more it pushes people to Islam. As I said in another video, because as humans we are curious animals who are curious about other cultures, etc. And so, and so we ask ourselves, so why do people hate Islam and Muslims so much? So therefore we go and study the culture and the religion. And this has made many people, from Christians to even atheists, fall in love with Islam and therefore have converted to Islam. Islam isn't forcing itself on anyone. It's only growing its popularity is only growing due not because it's forcing it on others like other religions such as Christianity that loves to ram itself down people's throats and likes to interfere in law and government. The Islamophobia in England recently is due to culture war, with the government trying to put the blame for their own evil onto someone else, and also because bigots within Christian communities seem to feel threatened as they believe England is a Christian country. Sorry. England was never a Christian country. I hate to break this to you. It was actually a pagan country of which had Christianity forced upon us, or forced upon this country at the end of a sword. I wasn't born then, obviously. What's ironic is Islam not only worships the same God, but venerates the same prophets. For example, Abraham, Solomon, Moses, and Jesus. What's also ironic is our culture owes so much to Islam due to its contributions via the Golden Age of Islam. I've done a video on that, so go check it out. It's very interesting. The numbers we use are Arabic, and most of our science and maths, etc., come from Islam. Again, thanks to the Golden Age of Islam, for which, without, we'd still be stuck in the Dark Ages. Islam, at its core, a religion of peace. Its people are kind, tolerant, compassionate, and they do not want, on average, do not want to force their beliefs onto anyone. They just simply want to live alongside everyone else in peace and harmony. And again, all this is the Islamophobia and xenophobia that's recently, worryingly and scarily, grown in the UK, especially is a distraction tactic or culture war to try and distract people from the real problem, and that is our very own government. From a religious standpoint, this is the 21st century, not the Crusades. It is not Christianity's mission to just try and destroy Islam. That is merely, again, an ancient form of culture war, which true intention was merely to amass land, wealth, and power during those times, all at the edge of the sword and in the name of God. Jesus would be ashamed at any Christian who attacks their fellow Muslim brothers and sisters. And I hate to break it to you, but Jesus was not sent to save us. He was a Palestinian Jew whose goal in life was to save the Jews from Zionism, because they drifted away from the teachings of the Torah, and Judaism was corrupted by the Pharisees, who not only murdered John the Baptist, who was on the same mission, as it were, but they murdered Jesus. This is ironically why real Jews are against the terrorist state of Israel, because Zionism isn't Judaism, it's a corruption of the Judaic faith. And I'm not a religious man, but according to Islam, Muhammad is simply one of the prophets who was sent to finish off the work that the other prophets were bringing to the table, but also to spread it to the rest of humanity. You had Moses, who gave us the covenant. You had then Jesus, who was sent to restore the Jews back onto their rightful path, and failed because the Israeli Zionists killed him off then. You had Muhammad, who was chosen to finish that work. Again, I'm not a religious person, but studying myths, cultures, etc., I can at least understand how the chain works in terms of the mythology, history, and so forth. Also, not only is Muhammad heralded as one of the greatest leaders in history, but also scientists have found that a lot of what's in the Quran aligns with science. For example, the forming of the fetus in the womb, the function and form of mountains, the formation and physics of how clouds work, and so forth, which you won't find in the Bible. And also in Genesis in the Quran, it speaks of the Big Bang, and unlike the Old Testament of the Bible, it describes the forming of the universe more accurately, close to what science says, than any other Abrahamic text of its time, like Big Bang. Awesome. Now, I'm not saying we should all rush off and convert to Islam. I am just saying that this Islamophobia just needs to stop. It's irrational, moronic, and like I said, it's merely diversionary tactics to keep us from pointing or looking at the real cause of our troubles in our country, which is the government, the people in power, who want us fighting each other and not standing with each other. And also because of stuff going on in Israel, that nonsense. Bigotry and intolerance should stay where we left it, and that is underneath the rubble of the Third Reich. If you like this video, hit the like. If you found it insightful, also hit the like, and if you're new to the channel, then please subscribe, because it would be great to have you here. And so until the next video, take care and be well. And just want to add last note to any Muslims watching, I am sorry for all the hate that the government, is dealing. They don't speak for me or many of us. So peace be upon you, and hope you are having a good Ramadan.